Hello, it's Rob from Fountain Pen Journey with the, as I promised, the update about the cheap Chinese nibs that I bought from eBay a while ago. It's been an interesting experience. I'll explain why. I've got two pens which I popped nibs onto. A 1.5mm nib and a 1.9mm nib onto these Wingsong 3008s, which generally come with fine nibs. Just to recap, these pens, the Wingsong 3008s, really great pens. Dirt cheap, very good quality, very smooth writers, very good nibs. Steel nibs, fine, write a really good line, reliable, all the rest of it. Top quality pens. They also hold a lot of ink. Now I'm finding that I'm preferring broader nibs at the moment, as opposed to finer nibs. And as a result, I thought, well, I'm using broader nibs, I'm getting through more ink. These things hold a lot of ink, piston fillers, so yeah, great. Swap out the nibs, happy days. Now, these nibs, I mean, they were like very inexpensive on eBay. I'm talking like, I don't know, £1.25. In a range of sizes: medium, 1.1mm, 1.5mm and 1.9mm. So 4 different nib sizes, as opposed to using the Wingsong supplied fine nibs on these. And it's been a bit of a bad experience, to be honest. I'll start off with the 1.5mm. Let's do a quick writing sample. And there you see the problem. So, hard start, skips, railroads. Bear in mind, I'm applying no pressure to this nib, and it railroads. And I know it's a stub and there's different ways of writing, but, you know, I'll give you another example. There you go. That's what's happening. And I found, and getting it to write again is actually quite annoying. So, started off okay, and then you get all these intermittent issues, and it seems all right, and then yeah, ink flow just disappears. And I thought, well, maybe the nib that is using too much ink and it can't keep up with the feed. No, that's not the case. I will show you what the 1.9mm nib is like sometime. So you can see the problem. And now this is where I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about the material or the steel used in these nibs. Very frustrating writing experience. Maybe used it a little bit and thought, oh, these are good quality nibs. I can write nice broad lines and they were reliable. But then suddenly the skips and the hard start started, and it got frustrating. Now, I'm not one to ever push my nibs too far. I know some people choose fountain pens because they love the line variation, which I must admit, yeah, it's an element of fountain pens that I appreciate, but not to a greater extent. I mean, I've always been quite a heavy-handed writer, so to be able to use a fountain pen which just writes when you place the nib on the paper without applying tons of pressure, for me, is another appeal of the fountain pen. So to suddenly find these nibs doing this is really quite annoying, because they started off, maybe wrote half a page without any issues, and the same goes for both nibs. And in the end I got frustrated, and I'm not talking mad, but I am talking, oh, come on, why is the nib not working? There we go, we get the flow back and it starts going dry again. So you try and sort of get a little bit out and it's still doing it. And then suddenly I notice this. I'll try and get this on camera. You can see I'm not actually applying very much pressure here. And the nib springs. It's quite springy. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, yeah, this is, no, what's going on? And I have applied very, very, very little pressure there. Let's see if I can get this to focus. There we go. Can you see? The nib has actually bent. It's actually come away from the feed, so it's no longer in contact with the feed. And it was when I started this video. So, yeah. Bendy steel. Very, very soft steel. Very, very soft. Bends easily. And then you simply push it back down onto the page. So, flip it back up the right way. There we go, back in contact, shake a bit of ink down. And it still doesn't write. A bit of reverse writing to get the ink flowing again. But it still doesn't write. So, as far as I'm concerned, and yeah, we can see that even with that little bit of pressure, the nib is no longer in contact with the feed. So push it down again. Yeah, I'm not about to start reverse writing with these pens. I mean, even you can see now, even here, it's just not reliable. So bends really easily. I'm assuming that this is steel, but it's not. I mean, it's like tin foil. I mean, this is very, very soft steel. Very soft steel. So, yeah, a little bit of pressure. And I mean, I'll give you an example. I know that I've flexed this nib a few times now for demonstration purposes. But, I mean, it's just not going to go back in contact with the feed there. If I was writing with a fountain pen, I would be applying this much pressure. If I was going to be adding a little bit of line variation, you see it's working now. That's how much pressure I'd be applying, but look at that feed already. Try and get this in focus. It has already there we go, started to come away from the feed, even with what I would call normal fountain pen writing pressure. There's obviously enough of the nib down in this part here, which is still in contact with the feed, supplying the slit, the nib slit. So it started writing dry again. So yeah, you can see the problem. So really disappointed in the fact that these broad nibs are so soft. I mean, I mean, you can see the bend in the metal there. So soft. It was such a good opportunity. I thought, well, these pens are great and I'd love these to have broader nibs, but these unbranded cheap Chinese nibs that fit onto the Wingsung 3008, I believe they also fit on the 3009 and also even the Lamy Safari All-Star pens like that, these winged nibs. It's a real shame because I thought I was onto a real winner here with this absolute bargain, which isn't a bargain at all because they're useless. So yeah, very, very disappointed with these nibs. I'm not saying that every cheap Chinese nib you'll see on eBay is going to be of this poor quality, but it's almost like the metal is you know, it's been annealed, i.e. softened, heated, and just formed into a nib, rather than actually go through any sort of tempering, hardening process, anything like that, and then folded around to make the wings. So quite disappointed from that point of view. The 1.9mm nib did exactly the same. I mean, you can see it's actually not quite in contact there, but it's sort of writes sometimes. There we go, a little bit of ink coming out, but yeah, these should be really wet nibs. I mean, it's just not working. So there we go, there you have it. That is the conclusion I've had from these Wingsong compatible, Lamy compatible cheap Chinese nibs on eBay. It's a shame, because I was really looking forward to using these pens a lot more with a broader nib. I mean, with a fine nib, these things are, you know, absolutely great pens. So what I'll do, I'll simply swap out the nibs that I've inserted onto the feed with the fine nibs, and then just carry on using the pens that way. So, learning experience for me, and hopefully for all of you as well. I hope you've learned something from this. So thanks very much for watching. See you next time. Bye.